Bryan Cranston is back, the Earth is in danger, and a prehistoric monster could be the key to save the planet. That's why today on the Summarizer, Godzilla. The film begins by showing us some old videos where we learn about Monarch, which is a secret multinational division in charge of studying prehistoric and giant monsters. This shows us that in 1954, Godzilla was lured into an island in an attempt to kill him with a nuclear bomb. In the Philippines, in 1999, we meet a doctor named Serizawa, a nice Asian guy who seems to be a specialist in fossils or prehistoric creatures. The company Monarch thought they had found a uranium deposit in the Philippines. Although when the ground collapsed, they found something else, some very old bones and two giant spores, one dormant and one hatched with a trail that leads out of the cave to the sea. And I insist on two because the other one is going to be very important later on. We are now in Genajira, Japan, where Walter White, who's now called Joe, lives with his wife Sandra and son Fort. He is the engineer responsible for the city's nuclear power plant, and he is telling his people to shut down the reactor because there are strange earthquakes. It's Joe's birthday that day, but there's no time for presents or cake, because the earthquakes repeat later that day. The nuclear power plant experiences unusual seismic activity, so Joe sends his wife Sandra with other technicians into the reactor, but a tremor breaks the reactor, leaving Sandra and her team unable to escape. She tells him to take care of his son Fort, and the nuclear plant is destroyed. Fort, meanwhile, watches from school as the nuclear plant where his parents work is destroyed. Quite a trauma.
I see dead people.
15 years later, Fort is a soldier and returns after 14 months from tour of duty to his wife Elle and young son Sam in San Francisco, which is disturbing because in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, they are siblings.
You didn't see that coming?
But he has to immediately depart for Japan after his father Joe is detained for trespassing in the Genajira quarantine zone. This area today is under quarantine because there is apparently a lot of radiation. So he goes to Japan and tries to convince his father to come back with him, but his father knows that what happened 15 years ago was not a malfunction, but something caused it, and that something woke up again and is communicating with something else. In the end, he convinces his son to accompany him to his old house, and there they discover that there is no sign of any radiation, so the government is hiding something. Joe is determined to find out the cause of the meltdown, and Ford joins him to their old home to retrieve vital data, but are discovered and taken to a facility in the plant ruins. Here we see again the nice doctor from the beginning, and Dr. Graham, but they don't matter. What matters is that in the plant there's another one of these mysterious spores, like the one we saw in the beginning. The facility harbors a massive glowing strange egg that had been feeding off the plant's reactors for the past 15 years and emitting stronger electromagnetic pulses over time. Suddenly, the same electromagnetic pulse from 15 years ago starts again. At that moment, the egg hatches and a giant monster comes out. The monster starts destroying everything and crushing people. The bridge Joe was on falls down and the monster escapes. The next day, Joe is badly injured, and while he is being taken by helicopter to the hospital, he dies. Serizawa and Graham joined a US Navy to search for the creature, which they named MUTO, which stands for Massive Unidentified Terrestrial Organism. Serizawa and Graham revealed that nuclear tests in the 1950s were really attempts to kill an ancient alpha predator named Gojira, or Godzilla.
We call him Godzilla.
A creature millions of years old from when the Earth had extremely high levels of radiation, so he and the rest of the other prehistoric monsters fed on it. When this radiation on the Earth decreased, Godzilla dived into the sea to be closer to the radioactive core of the Earth, and when he came out in 1954, the army tried to destroy him. When this didn't work, Project Monarch was established to secretly study Godzilla and similar monsters. They also revealed that in 1999, the MUTO traveled from the Philippine mine to Japan and caused the meltdown of the power plant. The Monarch Organization now believes that if they don't capture MUTO in time, Godzilla is going to wake up, come out of the ocean, and try to kill MUTO for upsetting the natural balance. Now they ask Ford to remember if his father had any other theories, because apparently Joe just knew more about this stuff than this whole organization of useless people. Ford reveals that Joe had monitored echolocation signals that indicated the MUTO was communicating with something, probably Godzilla. The men thank him and send him on a commercial flight back to San Francisco to be reunited with his family. The Muto attacks a Russian submarine and drops it in Hawaii to eat its nuclear material. After almost 1 hour of movie, Godzilla appears. The hero of this movie arrives in Honolulu in the worst way a hero has ever appeared in a movie, causing a tsunami and killing hundreds of people. And yes, now we are going to see the fight of both monsters, but on TV and only for a few seconds until Muto flees away. Serizawa deduces that the Muto is communicating with something else, prompting the military to investigate the other spore stored in the Yucca Mountain Nuclear Waste Repository in Nevada. However, a second bigger wingless Muto has emerged and attacks Las Vegas. The scientists deduce that the second Muto is a female and was the one the male was communicating with, their signals being a mating call. Over the scientists' objections, the Navy approves a plan to use nuclear warheads with more power than the bombs used in the 1950s to lure the monsters to the ocean and destroy them. Returning to the US, Ford joins the team delivering the warheads by train, but the female Muto intercepts them and devours most of the warheads. The remaining warhead is airlifted with Ford to San Francisco and is activated after Godzilla appears at the Golden Gate Bridge, destroys almost everything, and due to some reason I don't remember, the army starts attacking him. The male Muto snatches one of the warheads and takes it to the female, who forms a nest around it in the Chinatown area. A few scenes later, what we've been waiting so long for finally arrives, and we get to see a little more of what we all come to see when there's a giant monsters movie: fights between the giant monsters. While Godzilla and the Mutos battle, Ford and a strike team jumps to the city via Halo, find and disarm the warhead. Unable to access the timer, the team gets the warhead on a boat for disposal at sea. But before leaving, Ford releases a bunch of fuel into the nest, and a few seconds later, the whole Muto nest blows up. During the fight, Godzilla is winning at first, but then the two Mutos start to beat him, when the explosion distracts the Mutos enough to allow Godzilla to kill one of them in the end, after which he collapses. The other soldiers are putting the bomb on a ship to explode away from the civilians, but the female Muto is chasing them because she knows they killed her eggs. With the team killed by the female Muto, Ford gets the boat out to sea. And when all seems lost for Ford, Godzilla appears, opens the Muto's mouth, and throws the atomic breath that ends up killing her. Ford and Godzilla, as they are the heroes of the movie, fall unconscious at the same time. Ford is rescued before the warhead explodes and reunites with his family at an emergency shelter the following morning. Godzilla suddenly awakens and returns to the sea, with the media hailing him as King of the Monsters, savior of our city. So everyone lived happy ever after. Well, everyone except the hundreds of people who died in the tsunami that Godzilla caused the first time he appears in the movie, or all the people that the Mutos killed. But everyone else lived happily ever after. So that was the summary of Godzilla. Comment which series or movie you'd like me to summarize for future videos. See you later!
Go to work.
Okay. Bye.